Alright, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power, and who would have thought that we would have this exciting of shows after the Olympia? We just got the full competitor list for the EVLS Prague Pro, which is this coming weekend. Just 2 weeks after the Olympia, and it looks like I was right, by the way. It looks like Samson is doing this show as well. But not just Samson Dauda. You got Horse MD coming back. His pro debut was at the Romania Pro, did very well, 3rd place. Nathan Diasha coming back, doing the Prague Pro. Pavel Baron, Antoine Bippis, Kevin Brucher, Roberto Bonomo, Rob Cannon, Pavel Cervinka, Samson Dauda, who we just mentioned, Dennis Friedrich, Roman Fritz, another Olympian in this lineup that we just saw compete at the Olympia, Hamid Juma, Amit Kosick, Michael Krizo Krizanik, who just took 7th place at the Olympia, also jumping in this lineup, looking to shake things up. Gianluca De Lorenzo, Sultan Raiden, Sarhan, Pavel Sitskovsky, Jan Turek, Lian Yang, and Murad Zahir. A hell of a lineup here at the EVLS Prague Pro. And unfortunately, Behruz Tabani will not be here. My understanding was that he tried to compete, but kind of had the same issue as getting to the Olympia. It was a visa issue. I would have loved to see the Behruz and Samson rematch, which I felt was very close at Romania, even though Samson won, it looked like unanimously at both prejudging and finals. But this is an interesting lineup. Let's look at a guy like Horse MD, for example. You just saw Horse MD make his pro debut at the Romania Pro, where I think he did a lot better than a lot of people expected, myself included. Even though he didn't win the show, a top 3 placing for him, I think, was massive. Because up until this point, we hadn't seen him next to any open pro bodybuilders on stage. We knew that he was coming from a classic physique background. The question was, how big is he going to look next to these guys? Is he going to get lost in translation? Is he going to get out-muscled? And I think he really looked a lot bigger than people expected. His legs were huge. His quads specifically really stood out here against guys that are known to have big legs, like Samson Dauda. And like I said, it's worth mentioning that even though he was 3rd, he still beat 2 guys that were qualified for the Olympia. Nathan Diasha, who was 4th, and then you also had Andrea Presti in here. So for a pro debut, beating a guy like Nathan that has won 10-plus pro shows over the course of his career, several of them being in the last year, that's pretty big for a guy making his pro debut. So that was impressive. I thought he looked bigger than expected. I still think his back poses were some of his weaker poses, but it wasn't as weak as I thought it would be. And here in this Prague Pro lineup, you might get to see him do it again. Do I see Horse MD beating Samson? No. I like that they compared him so heavily with Samson, but you have Nathan in this lineup again. He could beat Nathan again. And now you have Roman Fritz and Michael Krizo. He could beat 2 more Olympians in this lineup, potentially. I don't know if he's going to have it in him to beat Krizo, but I didn't think he was going to have it in him to beat a guy like Nathan. So we might really find out what Marcelo is made of here. And there's a very good possibility you could have Samson winning this show and Marcelo as the runner-up guy, and you could maybe even see a call-out of just Samson and Marcelo, because you had, at that Romania show, it looked like they were comparing him to Samson pretty heavily. But make no mistake about it, to my Brazilian fans, Horse MD, Marcelo, he's the real deal. He really impressed me. And even though I didn't think he was going to win his pro debut, he still proved me wrong a little bit because he did better than I thought he would, for sure. And who knows, maybe there's a chance, however small, he could pull off a big upset here at the Prague Pro. But when you look at Samson, look at the video of Samson from the Romania show. This video, I think you get a much more clear idea of his conditioning. I think this HD footage from Mariah Photo is much better quality than the live stream was, and you can really see Samson was in pretty good shape here, even though next to a guy like Behruz, whose conditioning was like next level. This was a really good version of Samson, and I think if he looks anything similar to this at the Prague Pro, he's going to walk away with the win there too. And I think he's just trying to stay sharp and stay active. Because like I said, I told you guys he was doing the Prague Pro before he announced it. That was the rumor that I heard. I also heard a rumor he's going to do the UK and the US Arnold Classic, which now we're under 4 months away. So he's probably not going to have that much of an expansive offseason. He's probably going to try to stay in shape between now and then. This probably isn't going to be a huge growing period for Samson, even though I know that he is able to grow very quickly in a very short amount of time. I think he's going to keep it kind of tight between now and the Arnold, because honestly, I think we can all see now he's got the size. He was like the biggest guy on that Olympia stage. I think he knows now, and I think Milos knows now. I think he needs to focus on his conditioning. So I think he's going to keep it a little bit tighter and focus less on the scale between this Olympia and the next Arnold Classic and the UK Arnold as well. But anyway, based on this video, based on what we saw in Romania, I still think Samson is the favorite to win this Prague Pro. But this lineup, dare I say, is even better than the Romania lineup. I'm excited for this one. All right, now next up in the news, in classic physique news, we got the lineup for the upcoming Shaun Ray's Hawaiian Classic. Logan Franklin jumping in that lineup. This is a show that he's won before, a show that he's qualified for the Olympia before. Not the deepest lineup. Logan, arguably by far the biggest name out of these 5 guys in the lineup. Logan posted this update at 1 week out, this physique update. Logan has been kind of away from the scene a little bit because we haven't seen him at the Olympia the past 2 years. I think a lot of people miss his physique in that lineup, myself included. He's one of my favorite classic physique competitors, and I want to see him back. And I think this show is part of the road to him doing that. I think he's going to easily win. He's going to easily pick up the qualification, an early qualification, mind you, which is important because this gives him basically the maximum amount of time between now and next year's Olympia, which he'll be qualified for when he wins this, which I think he will. And this will allow him the maximum amount of time to prepare for that Olympia, which I think is why across the board at the Romania show, at the at this weekend's Prague Pro, you're seeing these lineups that are actually pretty decent because people recognize that if you pick up an early qualification for the Olympia, you're stress-free for basically all of 2024. If you qualify now, you just got to focus on just that Olympia. You don't have to worry about qualifying. You don't have to worry about necessarily any travel, any competing. You can just shut it down until the next Olympia and have the whole year kind of just for that. No distractions, and I think that really is a major advantage. That's why I think that's part of the reason why I think it's so hard to beat a reigning Mr. Olympia is because Mr. Olympia is qualified for life. He never has to qualify. After you win your first Olympia, every year after that, you're just chilling until the Olympia, metaphorically speaking. You don't have to worry about anything. All right, now next up in the news, we got a guest posing from both Keone Pearson, who just won the 212 Mr. Olympia for the first time, and Shaun Clarida, who obviously just lost the title and was your former 212 Mr. Olympia. So a guest posing from both of them 1 week after the Olympia. Obviously, neither of them looked the same as they looked on the Olympia stage, but I think 1 week out, when the conditioning is a little bit less of a factor, and this is a guest posing, I think you can see a little bit more clearly why Keone Pearson won the title. I know a lot of people were screaming robbery when Shaun Clarida lost, but if you really look at them side by side, and you look at Keone at this guest posing, both the same amount of time out from the Olympia, and you take away the conditioning being as much of a factor, there's no denying it was a factor. You look at the shape specifically, which I think is one of Keone's strongest points, if not his strongest point. He is a shape freak genetically. And this is what I've been saying all along. All this time that I've been saying I think Keone will win the Olympia someday, this is why. Because of his shape, it is unmatched. And I think you can see when Shaun loses some of that conditioning, his actual shape is kind of exposed. And I think one thing that slipped this year more than in years past is that midsection. He said he came in, I believe it was 8 pounds heavier for the Olympia this year. And I think you really saw that in his midsection. And just 1 week removed from the Olympia, look at how disproportionately big his midsection looks compared to years past. And that's not just because he's been eating a lot for the last week. I think that shape was also evident at the Olympia, but he was in good condition, so it wasn't as noticeable. But when you compare that to a guy like Keone, that's why Keone won. Because I think Shaun really sacrificed his shape this year to come in bigger. And when you got a guy like Keone, with the taper that Keone has, it really exposes something like this. And again, I think this is a fair comparison because Keone's clearly been eating too. He's not in the same condition as he was at the Olympia. Neither is Shaun. So I think this is a really interesting side-by-side guest posing comparison. And look, frankly, I think if Clarida doesn't address the midsection thing next year, I think Keone will beat him again. If the midsection stays the way it is, I think it throws off, because his frame is so small that just the slightest thing like this, the slightest imbalance, can throw it off quite a bit, like a lot. But that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What are your predictions for the EVLS Prague Pro? Who do you think is better as the 212 Olympia champion? Shaun Clarida or Keone Pearson? Let me know in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, click that bell notification icon. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NICKS&P. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.